Hours after a Victoria resident voiced concerns about Royal Jubilee patients being left at a bus stop, she witnessed hospital security bring another person in apparent distress here.
It's horrific that this is normalized.
In Vancouver, Remy Cadron says he's seen VGH security escort dozens of patients to a bench across the street.
It's being used as a people dump.
This issue of what happens to people when they leave the hospital is of central concern to everybody who works in a hospital in BC.
BC's health minister says our hospitals see 200,000 emergency room visits per month, and he doesn't believe patients are being dumped outside. But those aggressive or abusive to staff may be escorted out.
There are circumstances where a patient, for whatever reason, is being disruptive and needs to leave.
Most of the time, the patients that are disruptive and or violent oftentimes have a mental illness. So just dumping them on the street? Not exactly a good idea, because if a passerby tries to help them, that good Samaritan could wind up getting shanked. Now I have to say, I don't know if this woman has a mental illness or not. She could just be screaming because she's being forcefully removed from the hospital. I don't know. But when I look at this, the optics aren't really good, because you have 4 security personnel basically dragging a person out of a hospital and just dropping them at a bus stop. And in this clip here, they're dumping them on a park bench. So, optically speaking, that's not good PR. Now, the other group of people that would get kicked out of the hospital for being disruptive and or violent are just people who aren't getting their way. In that case, I would be okay with them phoning the police and having that person be, put in a jail cell for a couple hours to let them realize, hey, you can't act this way in public.
And needs to leave.
Since hospitals are not hotels or shelters, what options are there for staff when a person without a home is ready for discharge?
Well, they often work with that person. They have lists of housing that might be available. There's a series of supports that can be given. Once you're determined you don't need to be there,
including bus passes and taxi vouchers. Staff often check on shelter bed availability, says Adrian Dix, and social workers may also be involved in assisting people.
You can't just dump people at a transit station or a bus stop. My goodness, especially if folks are struggling with mental health issues.
Opposition leader Kevin Falcon says if he becomes premier, he'd legislate the limited use of involuntary treatment in modern facilities with 24/7 psychiatric and medical supports.
When they're incapable of making decisions on their own, we have to make sure we're looking after them.
So yeah, that's what it comes down to. What if there's no place for them, no space, nobody that can take them in? What do you do with them? That's just a blank question. Now, when I think of asylums, insane asylums and things, I think of structures that can hold dozens, if not maybe hundreds of people. Is that good? Well, it's better than having mentally challenged people just wandering around on the street. I remember driving through a small town that I lived near. There was this guy, he was just doing small circles around and around. He was drenched because it was raining, and he was just aimlessly doing circles. That can't be safe for him or for people in general, because what if someone tried to help him? Me, for example, I felt sorry for him. Part of me wanted to help him. What if I did and I wound up getting shanked? In the end, what does it come down to? Money. And I think I've talked about this before. Canada's given Ukraine, what, $6 billion? How many shelters could you have built for that? How many case workers could you have hired? Anyway, that's it for my thoughts on this article. Take care out there in clown world.